Check, check. Check, check. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Can you hear me now? Can you? Check, check, check. Is it on? Of course, we have technical difficulties. Good evening. Oh, okay, now it works. You might want to turn that down a little bit. So we're getting ready to start here. I want to just take a minute and open with a word of prayer. Father God, we thank you for this opportunity to gather together, Lord. And Lord, we thank you for this country that you've given us, for the representative government that you've given us that still works after 250 years. And we confess that we haven't done a great job of taking care of that government. And so, Lord, I pray that you would raise up wise and godly leaders to stand for the government our founders gave us. I pray, Lord, that you would be with us tonight as we hear from the candidates. I ask you to give them strength and favor in the upcoming election. And we just ask your blessing on this gathering in Jesus' name. Amen. So my name is Mark Dowding. I'm assistant pastor here at Buell Bible Church. I'm also a candidate for PC. I'm running for precinct committee man in Buell 3. I just want to give you a quick overview of how the evening's going to go. So first of all, bathrooms. That's always the number one question. Bathrooms are out that door to the right. At the end of the hall, you take another right, and they're down that hallway. So if you need to use them, feel free to get up at any time and do that. We're going to have a question and answer period for each candidate. We'll have 3 candidates up at a time. They will be introduced by the other PCs running for Buell Precinct Committee Man. We have some questions that we want to ask them, and then you will have time to come up and ask them questions from the microphone. If we run out of time, we're limiting this to 20 minutes discussion time and 10 minutes talking time. If you don't get to ask your question, the candidates are going to be around for a little while afterwards. We've got some pizza and some snacks and coffee and water and juice out there, so you're welcome to spend some time asking them questions afterwards. I'm going to request that everyone remain calm. I know that's hard to do with politics, isn't it? But we do have security, and if anything gets out of control, we will be asking you to leave. So with that, I'm going to introduce Saul Cuthbertson. She's going to introduce our first candidates. She is running for PC for Buell 2.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes. Good. People usually don't hear me, so. My name is Sol Culbertson, like Mark said. I am running for PC for Buell 2. I'm also the president of the Magic Valley Republican Women. And my background, I was actually not in politics until I came to Idaho. And somebody took me to a Republican meeting and got me to accept a vice president position the following year. So I've been stuck and then president a year later. But I'm actually an aerospace engineer for 38 years, 23 years in the space shuttle program, and 16 years on a satellite business, which you guys cannot ask me what it is. And I started as a test system integration engineer and went up to a project manager as well as a functional manager, managing 75 engineers. So that's my qualification as a PC. Hopefully, you guys will vote for me. I'm actually running unopposed, thank God. But I guess my name is still going to be in the ballot, so it's three-letter name, SOL. And so I have the pleasure of introducing our county candidates. It's going to be Leslie Wolf, who's running for assessor for Twin Falls County. Yes. And then there's going to be Creighton Knight, who's running for County Commissioner number 1. And then there's Jose Castillo? Sanchez, sorry. and he's running for Twin Falls County County Clerk. Yes. So with that, I'm going to have each one of them introduce themselves, and then I do have some questions with regards to the 3 candidates. So, Leslie?
Just 1 second.
Yes.
I forgot to say something. So I told you this was going to be timed. I forgot to tell you that our timekeeper is Kathy Thompson. Kathy, would you stand up? She is our incumbent PC for Buell 1. And she's also running to be PC again. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, Leslie, you want to introduce yourself there, or right here? Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. My name is Leslie Wolf, and I am running for Twin Falls County Assessor. So a little bit about me. I've worked in the assessor's office for over 8 years as a state certified appraiser. 10 years ago, I moved here with my husband, James. He's out here in the audience. And just looking for a better life than where we were coming from. And we found that here. I am the second vice president for the Magic Valley Republican Women. I back up Sol. And
you're a PC also.
Oh, thank you. I am also a sitting PC for TF 14. Thank you.
Huh?
How much time do we get?
Introduce yourself.
2 minutes? All right. Hey, thanks guys for coming out. Hey, what a great turnout. Give yourselves a hand. How cool is that? Friday night, and you guys are here. That's awesome. It's so exciting to see people engaged in the process. That's what's going to save Idaho, isn't it? That's right. So you guys can be a part of that. You know that you've been a part of something bigger than ourselves. It's about our family. It's about our future. So I'm love to be here, and I love to see this awesome turnout. When I turned into the parking lot, I was super excited. My name is Creighton Knight. I'm running for the Twin Falls County Commission position. A lot of people ask, well, what seat is it? It's seat number 1, but here's the good news. Doesn't matter where in the county you live, you get to vote for me, okay? So just remember that. You'll see all the big signs. It's a friendly crowd. I like it. I got ready to duck tomatoes, but it looks like I'm going to be okay tonight. So a little bit about me. So I've got my master's degree in business. I have a bachelor's degree in economics. I've been in manufacturing professional now for over 18 years. I work at that big, beautiful mill over there called Rangan, the new one. That's me. That's my building. They hired me to start it. So they built a $25 million building and gave it all to me. So that's kind of cool. Some of the things I've done in manufacturing is I've managed projects over $35 million. And I get paid every single day, guys, to make product that has high quality, that is made safely, and it's made efficiently. Aren't those some of the things that we need to bring to government, right? We need to bring quality, customer service, we need to bring efficiency, and that's one of the reasons why I'm running, to do that, to bring a fresh approach. And what's really exciting is I think we have a pretty good crop of county commissioners right now, and I believe that they would be a good team. They seem like they're kind of dialed in on the same things. I'm very happy as well to have the support of Sheriff Jack Johnson. We met last week, had a great sit down. He likes my plan to shut Highway 93 down for drugs. Anybody down for shutting it down for drugs? That's right. That's exactly right. So that's one of my things that I'm running on. I'm also running as well to make sure that our budget makes sense, because if we continue to grow without ever looking and asking ourselves, is this really a proper function of county government, then our taxes will continue to grow. And so you want somebody who has a solid eye and who's cheap, okay? I'm cheap. That's who you want making your budgets, right? Because that's on the tax side. And then the other thing that I'm really excited about as well is I'm excited about keeping windmills out of our county. And I'm going to get a chance to talk a little bit about that. But that's what you get when you get me. And please vote for all of us, and tell all your friends to vote too. God bless you guys. Thank you so much.
All right. Glad you guys made it here tonight. I'm glad we can get to speak to you guys. I'm Jose Sanchez, and I'm running for Twin Falls County Clerk in the upcoming primaries. Thank you. A little bit about myself. I was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and the Air Force is what brought me here to Idaho like 33 years ago. I'm a Christian, conservative Republican. I'm a 24-year Air Force veteran, senior master sergeant, and I have experience in cybersecurity, bylaw compliance, and administration. I have my master's degree in business. I have an information management degree and a professional manager certification. Reason I'm running, 2 things. Number 1, to bring democracy to the local government level, because for the first time in over 20 years, voters are going to get a chance to select who they want as their next county clerk. All right, so thank you. And number 2, because we need to act. We need accountability with change and transparency. We need to revamp the administrative processes of the Office of the Clerk to provide better services for the citizens. We need to be accountable to our citizens so that their voices are heard, in order to make sure that we have the right priorities in place to solve problems versus nice to have things. And lastly, we need transparency, and I'm talking mostly about election integrity. We need to make sure we keep our elections safe, and that is why I promote hand count training. As a former cybersecurity superintendent, I know how easy it is to manipulate computers and how all those vulnerabilities can be exploited, for nefarious purposes. So hand counting, along with other safeguards in place, that's what's going to keep the elections safe for the foreseeable future. And I'm the right person for the job with my background and qualifications. I'm the one that needs to be there in that position to keep it safe for years to go. Thank you.
Okay, so I do have some set of questions for all 3 of you. The first question, I think, Creighton, you asked for this one. What's your position for hand counting?
So my position on hand counting is I support Jose in pushing hand counting. You know, it's interesting because one of the knocks against hand counting is that it takes too long. What we know is France, a nation of over, well, about 100 million people now, they have paper ballots and they hand count their ballots, and I think they know the election results by the next morning. France is not known for their efficiency, right? Like as a culture, you know, and that's like 5 wine breaks and cheese and all that stuff, and they still get them all counted in one night. So I think we should do that, and I support Jose's efforts in that. You know, we all know that in 2020, there were a lot of questions, and I think that that's important, that we need to unpack that. And, you know, the idea that, and we all know it in our guts too, right, that something was off in 2020, even though we can't quite put our finger on it, we know something was off. And the thing is that if we have hand counting, then we know exactly, what the ballots are. It's a paper trail. It's very good. And then what's really cool, I applaud Jose, and Kathy Thompson is the OG rock star in this department, is not only is he putting forth a good public policy of hand counting, they're also going around and they're training people to do it. So yeah, Christina Glasscock, the current clerk, and her staff, they couldn't count all the ballots, but if we have enough trained volunteers who are committed to a good system, then we can do it. And the other way I look at it too is, what's the problem? What's the harm? You know, I mean, what's the harm? Why don't we, this is the difference between servant leadership and people who think that they just are owed the office, right? Servant leadership says, the people are complaining, the people aren't trusting, I am a servant leader, I need to help allay their fears, right? And it's a simple thing, just allay the fears, and let's do the hand counting, and let's restore the trust and integrity of the people.
Thank you. And I'd just like to add one thing. I know Christina always says, our computer is not hooked up in the internet. As everybody know, you don't have to be hooked up on an internet to
Yeah.
get information out of that.
Yeah, neither are their cell phones either, and they
That's
get hacked all
right.
the time.
So I just want to let you know, coming from aerospace as well as Jose coming from cyber, we fight that all the time. So when she tells us that we're not on the internet and we have to trust her, that's when she told me when I went training for poll watcher, she didn't want us to be a poll watcher, and she told us that we just have to trust her. And I raised my hand and I said, but verified, and we're the verification, so. Okay, the second question is, what qualification do you guys have that will set you apart from your opponent, and therefore you'll be a better choice for the job? You can answer it first.
Sure. As I said, I have worked as a certified appraiser in Twin Falls County Assessor's Office for over 8 years, and I see the things that work in our office, and I see the things that don't work in our office. And I also see the favoritism that's given out, the nepotism, and I would be a better candidate because I do not serve special interests. I believe every taxpayer should be treated equally, and just because you know someone who knows someone doesn't always mean that you're the best person for the job or that your property deserves to be assessed. I'm so sorry. Should be assessed differently. We've had, when he was put into the current assessor was put into office over 8 years ago, there were questions because he did come from the developer and builder's background. And I can tell you, standing here today, that I have seen him use taxpayer money to help benefit the developers. And day one, that would stop. Thank you. If the developers want to profit, then they should also be doing their own paperwork. It is not fair that you as a taxpayer pays for the developers to get every exemption that's out there on every parcel they own. That's up to them. It should not fall back on the taxpayers, on our office, who is paid by the taxpayers.
Amen. Creighton?
Qualifications. So when you think about serving in public office, obviously I share a little bit about my resume and what I do on a daily basis, and I'm hired basically and I'm paid to find efficiencies, do it safely, do it with higher quality every single time. Oh, and by the way, I can't go to my boss and say, hey boss, I really need $100,000 to make XYZ work. Anybody ever do that with their boss and walk away with $100,000? Yeah, me neither. If anybody said, yes, I'm gonna come work for you guys, it's gonna be awesome. No, so basically what would he say? He'd say, you do with what I give you, and then if you can succeed at that, then I'll give you another $100,000 and then we'll see what we can do, right? So obviously that's my mindset. The other thing too is that I believe that when it comes to leading a conservative county, and Twin Falls is a conservative county, right? I believe we need courageous leaders. In Idaho, courage amongst politicians is a very, very rare commodity. Like there's diamond prices and then there's Idaho rhino courage. Those prices are extremely high. And think about it, what happens when you do have courageous people like Senator Zeiderveld or Representative Hostetler or like William Mostoller or like Mark Fitzpatrick or like us up here? What happens when you have courage and you stand up and you say, there's a better way to do this. We're gonna serve the people instead of special interests. How are they rewarded? They're rewarded by their husband's business being attacked by the powers that be because they want her to vote for things that are illegal on a federal level. They drop $100,000 worth of mailers on you. So there's a disincentive in our politics today where courage, instead of being honored and respected, is actually being penalized. But here's what's cool, guys. On May 19th, actually it starts on Monday, starting on Monday and concluding on May 19th, guess who gets to change the rubric on that? Guess who gets to say, no, the incentive goes to the people who have courage to do what's right. That's you guys. You guys can change that equation, and we need you to change that equation. We need you to send a message that says courage in Idaho will be rewarded and cowardice will be penalized. Vote the cowards out and put the courageous people in. I think that qualifies me. I don't know, my time is up, and so there we go.
Okay. I'll say.
All right, like I said earlier before, 24 years in the Air Force. I had a top secret clearance. I handle hundreds of millions of dollars, personnel and equipment, and not once I had my integrity or judgment questioned. So that says a lot right there. And in addition to that, I know how to be a leader, how to be a follower. My IT background has me better prepared to deal with technology and the issues of technology in the future. With AI coming up, and having computers in our elections, we're going to be dealing with that. I'm prepared to handle that stuff. My opponent, she already came out and said that in 2020, the issues that happened during the elections, those were conspiracy theories. And as you know, they've all been proven factual. So when you already think like that, you're biased, you're not ready to deal with those issues. Me, on the other hand, with my background and my experience, I'm ready to get that done, and I'm the man for the job. So. Thank you.
Okay, and my last question is, what policy changes you think you're gonna make once you get into the office? And what benefit will that be to the citizens of Twin Falls County? So, I'll start with Jose.
All right, so technology is a good thing, and like I said earlier, a lot of the administrative processes in the office of the clerk, they can be improved to provide better for the citizens, and that's something that I did throughout my military career, streamline processes, save resources, funds, and was able to expedite results and provide better for our customers. So same thing can be done with the office of the clerk. There's a lot of processes there that can be improved and better, so to facilitate getting access to records and filing documents and things like that, you know. So right now, in the court system too, I've heard there might be some glitches, some issues with like jury duty and that kind of stuff. I will have to look more into that, you know, directly to see if it's an isolated thing or if it's a pattern, something that can be improved. But basically, yeah, technology can be used and implemented, and you know, to better the processes of the office. Thank you.
Something that it's important that you need to know about me is I'm a problem solver, right? And also, too, I like to think outside the box. Just because if someone says, well, we've never done it this way, for me, that's like showing the bull the red flag, right? I'm just going to, oh, yeah, well, let's try it anyway. And so that's one of the things that you get with me. The other thing you get, too, is you can probably tell a little bit, I get a little fired up. I'm not a go-along to get-along guy. But also, too, what I believe we can disagree, and we will have disagreements, but we can do it without being disagreeable. We can be passionate without being personal. Does that make sense? And so that's something that I bring, and I think that it's important that we don't burn bridges that we got to turn back and cross again, right? So a couple of policy things. Number one, if you've seen any of my stuff on social media, you know that I hate windmills. I fought against them in 2003. A lot of you guys fought against them in 2002 and 2003. One of the reasons I'm running is because I was super unimpressed with the administrative kind of well, that's not my department kind of thing. And, you know, and I said, you know, we need leaders who are going to say, this is a 90-10 issue, actually more like a 95-5 issue that people are unified around. So I want to do the heavy lift. I want to make the policies in our county, the code, so that it is economically unrealistic, unfeasible, and very unfriendly for people to try to put a dang windmill in our land. The way I look at it, it's federal lands. Yeah, but they got to take county roads and county space to get there, so let's shut it down. That's number one. Number two is, again, if you've seen it in my videos, we've got to fund Sheriff Johnson, and we got to lock 93 down from drugs, from human trafficking, from illegal immigration, okay? That's it. That's a lift, but that's a lift that we have to do because that's an essential function of government. One of the other things I want to do, I was talking to Mr. Brubaker back there. I'm glad that he brought it up because I don't hear it too often. On the bridge, we need to get that third crossing going. Again, what's the difference between me and my opponent who was recruited by the Rhino establishment? The biggest difference is that those guys can't think outside the box and get creative. Every time I hear people, I've heard a certain person who's going to be leaving the commission soon, I've heard him say, well, gee, you know, we want to get on the list for the crossing, and maybe in 4 years if we're lucky, and hopefully in my lifetime. How many people have heard that phrase? Maybe in our lifetime we'll get a third bridge, right? Guys, it just takes a little more gumption. It takes that person to just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. I'm friends with these legislators. Don't think I'm going to get on the phone and I'm going to call my brother, Clint Hosteller, and be like, bro, what the heck? Who do I need to talk to at ITD to get us on the list? Does that make sense? The other thing, too, is I'm a citizen representative, and I've heard some really cool ideas. One of them, Jack Harner, a friend of mine from the Sportsmen for Wildlife Foundation. One of the things that's important to those guys is they'd like to see some kind of a shooting range, a shooting center that can also double as an education center and even a training center for the sheriff's department. Well, that sounds like a pretty cool coalition and a heavy lift, but it would be cool to build a team around that, and let's get something out here for our county so that our kids we can pass on the heritage of our shooting sports and our hunting to our children and really make it a very welcoming place for people who want to come and continue to exercise their God-given Second Amendment right. So those are some of the issues that I'm passionate about. I'd love to have your vote. Please make sure you vote for Jose and you vote for Leslie. Let's get this thing turned around, guys. You can do it.
Well, as I stand up here before you, you can tell that I'm not a great public speaker. I'm not a politician, but I can tell you that on day one, if I get elected, I will bring fairness back to the assessor's office. The days of special interests getting all of the attention is gone. And with that, it means that they are going to be sharing they're going to share their burden of the tax. It is not going to fall on everyday citizen who doesn't have that same influence with our current assessor. And I will go one step further, even if it puts me out of a job. I will work with the legislators in Boise to whatever support I can give to try to eliminate property tax altogether. Because I'm tired of seeing hardworking people struggle and worry how they're going to pay their taxes on their properties. They already have their mortgage or it's paid off, and they just feel like they're renting their home from the government because at any time they can come in and take it. And that's not right. It's upsetting. Every year we have, sure some of you know, the circuit breaker or the property tax reduction. And so for the last 8 years, I've either helped check them in or I've just been around. They come in every year. They battle the cold from January to the mid-April to fill out their paperwork. And they have the saddest stories, and they are in tears wondering how they're going to pay their taxes. Then they're afraid that the government's going to come and take their home. That, my friends, I will work with the legislators to bring that to an end. I appreciate your support, and I hope that, as Creighton said, you take Jose, Creighton, and myself, not politicians by any means, but I think that's maybe what our county needs. The career politicians, they need to be ousted. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody have any questions to the three?
Okay, we have 15 minutes for questions. I'm going to ask for you to come up here and use the microphone so that everyone can hear you. Anybody interested? Come on up, make a line. If we don't get to you, you can talk to these folks afterwards.
You know me, I like to talk. I'm pretty excited, and thank you for coming and sharing with us. My question is for the assessor's office. I am one of those people that come in and battle. So I bought my home in 2016 for $185,000. My tax just on my home, not including the rest of the property, is now assessed at $185,000. And I can't insure it for $185,000. Do you have an answer for that? I mean, now they're telling me my home is worth $500,000 and I have to pay taxes on that when I've already paid it. What are we doing?
Okay, so unfortunately, down at the county level, we like to say everything starts local level up. But unfortunately, this is one of the circumstances where it basically starts at the state capitol. We have a mandate to make sure that every home or every parcel is assessed to its current market value. And so unfortunately, as COVID hit, we saw prices rising. We couldn't keep an inventory of for sale homes. So we do have to, keep it at that level. But then on the flip side, that's where the budgets come in. And all of these taxing districts get their budgets, and this is the commissioners go over them. They're the kind of like ones that critique them and make sure that that's really what they need. But it's the spending. It really is. It's the different taxing districts and the spending that when they take your value and what they need, they come out with their levy rate. And until we have some legislators up there that can look at some other issues, look at some other ways to bring down or eliminate property taxes, we are stuck just by the mandates in state statute. But I do feel your pain, and I see it. I get people who come in, appeal season's right around the corner in June, and it is heartbreaking because people know that their taxes are going to go up once that value goes up. And it's hard. But I do want all of you, this is to look at that value statement. Call your assessor's office and ask the tough questions. Come in. We will sit down with you. We will take a look. We will go back out to your property if you think it's too high, and we will look at it again. Then also at the bottom of your assessment letter, it will tell you the different taxing districts and when those budget meetings are being held. I encourage you to go to those budget meetings see where they're spending your hard-earned dollars, and make sure that they can't, you see if there's anywhere that they can cut. Because once they get that budget set, every dollar worth of your value is gonna be taxed. So, does that answer your question? Unfortunately, I do feel your pain.
To make this move along a little bit quicker, if you have a question, come on up and get in line here. You got here first.
Oh, it wasn't a race. I actually have a couple of comments and then a question. So, property tax when your property rises in value and you're taxed on that, that's an illegal tax because they're taxing you on capital gains that you have not realized from that property. So we live in a house that we paid $144,000 for 13 years ago. The house below just sold for $1.4 million cash. Okay, and so my house is not, I'm going to end up paying more in my property tax because somebody else is a fool buying a house for $1.4 million in Buell. Okay, and so my comment is a lot of people don't realize that this tax it's not legal to tax you on capital gains. I don't know how they continue to do this year after year. They come out, and I've gone to the property assessor's office years ago, and basically Bradford Wills told me flat out, well, that's your tax, tough. He didn't say it exactly like that, but that was the end, the basic conversation. So going down there is just wasting your time. And I want to know, you want to get rid of property tax, and I want to know why we still have property tax. We're being taxed on stuff that we're not making the money. So if a person wants to keep property tax or taxing people, I should be taxed on the $144,000 year after year, what I paid for it, not what I think it's like at $225 now or more. That's what they think it's worth. Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So how do you plan on combating that and getting rid of property tax? Because that's something that needs to be done in this country, nationwide, not just Idaho-wide, but.
Okay. So I understand. The assessor, no, I'm trying to pass the buck. When I first started there, I was told if anyone comes in and says anything that they want to complain about their taxes, send them to the treasurer's office because we don't deal in taxes. We only deal in value.
Okay.
So people would call and I would write, let's talk about taxes. And they would send me back to get back on the phone, sorry, they can't talk about taxes. So I started just changing the wording. They want to talk about their value. And like I said, we are mandated by the state to value every parcel. And at market value, plus or minus 10%. Until that state statute changes, my hands are tied. But like I said, I would be more than happy to work with any of the legislators that have questions or if there's anything that I can do in that office. But other than that, my mandate is just to appraise.
Right, so I'm not trying to
No, I
diminish you, but
understand.
you're the lowest person or the entry-level person in this situation. And the legislators, I'm sorry to put you all in the hot seat, they've got to go in there and they've got to get that changed is what I'm understanding. The other thing I don't understand, and to my recollection, so please correct me if I'm wrong, is a big company like Glanbia or Cliff Bar comes in and they give them a very favorable property tax reduction or no taxes in some cases and let the good people of the state of Idaho pick that up, and that's not right.
Yeah. Can I jump in here real quick?
Yes.
Thank you for jumping in.
Hey, thanks for bringing that up, or asking that question. So you bring up a couple really great points. One of the ones is a public policy type of a debate, and is over in Florida, Ron DeSantis, who's pretty much a conservative rock star, so they're really pushing that to take away the property tax. So I know, having talked with some of our legislators about this, there's a lot of different public policy implications, and there might be some unintended consequences. I know California did some sort of a freeze, and it kind of had some unintended consequences. But here's what's cool is, and this is really how our republic was designed, is for the states to be, that incubator, that the laboratory of testing new public policy. So I'm really excited to see what happens in Florida and see what they come up with if he can push that where they abolish those property taxes, because that state also, like ours, has consistent year-over-year growth. So it'll be interesting to see how they can continue to build their schools and everything. And they have a lot of seniors there too. So obviously they don't want to tax their seniors out of their home. So that is part A of the answer. So I think it's going to be cool to see. And then what's cool is when somebody goes first, they kind of make all the mistakes, right? So then we can kind of watch theirs and tweak it and everything. So I know these guys are watching that. Secondly, talking about these sweetheart deals for the developers. So one of the big things that we do on the county commission is we really we look at what kind of growth we want. We manage that. The planning and zoning board is there. Then we would have to approve what their recommendations are. One of the things that and I'm glad you brought this up because I didn't get a chance to share it earlier. One of the things I talk about is smart growth. Smart growth, part of smart growth, guys, is that whenever a large employer or whatever wants to come into our area, I think that Idaho has made a lot of mistakes in the past where we've acted like, we're just so happy that this person's coming in and waving fistfuls of cash our way. And so we kind of bow down and we give them everything. And then at the end of the day, what a lot of other areas that have done that are seeing is they're beginning 10, 15, 20 years down the road, really beginning to look back and say, I don't really know if the juice was worth the squeeze on that deal.
That's right.
So here's what I'm going to tell you guys. I was just having this conversation with a resident today, as a matter of fact, and we were talking about this. And one of the things that we have to think about, and one of the ways I'm going to look at deals, if a deal comes here, first of all, let's take a page out of the Trump book. Don't act like you're excited at the first deal that comes your way, right? We are the prettiest girl to dance. We don't have to dance with every guy who just comes up and says hi to us, right? We need to have a little pride in ourselves and have a little pride in our community and say no and negotiate for the best deal that we can. And anybody who's played poker, cards, or negotiating business knows you never take the first offer, right? And so the way I will analyze those is I will analyze it and say, from a profit and loss standpoint, because I'm a business guy, from a profit and loss standpoint, does this benefit, are we going to get a profit out of it, or is it going to be a net loss that then has to be borne by the taxpayer? So I'm really glad you brought that up, because that's part and parcel of smart growth. I am not going to take every little deal that comes down the line, and I'm going to negotiate the hardest I possibly can for you guys and for the county, because it's not fair for you guys to carry for all of us to carry the freight for some stupid multi-billion-dollar corporation. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you.
So
Let me piggyback real quick. And he said, as you can see, that's why I see all these positions, they're all interrelated. So that's why it's not a matter of just voting for one of us, You need a group of like-minded people that can get there and fight for you. Amen. Us, the legislators, we all need to get in there so we can fight for you.
just for your knowledge, there's a 3% cap in Florida on property taxes. And to you personally, I ask, the farmland is being vacuumed up by developers, and we fought that in our community development that they were trying to plan. What is your opinion on that? And then I have nothing else to say. I'm sorry.
No more questions.
No, I have tons, but I gotta stop.
It's cool. We can visit afterwards too. So a couple things about the farmland. Obviously, anybody who's lived here for any amount of time is seeing that kind of flip, and it's disappointing, right? In many ways. But here's the thing too: is it's a little bit of a sticky issue because we obviously have to protect, first and foremost, the same property rights that you have at your home. We also have to, respect those property rights of the agricultural owners, the farm owners, the producers, right? And let's face it too, having worked directly with ag producers for a long time now, I know a lot of them that I know, their kids don't want to continue in the business, or their grandkids don't. And I think a lot of them that I've worked for anyway directly, they want to see it maintain an agricultural footprint, and I think that's great. But I'm never going to tell a farmer who's busted their tail and who's lived the bad years and the good years that they can't sell their property to somebody who's going to put houses on there. I mean, we don't want to do that. That's dangerous. Just like I don't want the county to tell you can't put an Airbnb or a mother-in-law suite or a really cool pergola on your property, right? So we want to make sure that we protect those private property rights, and those are sacrosanct. I think that one of the things that will help bring housing prices down, however, is if we have smart growth that brings more housing into the inventory, because we know from supply and demand, if demand is tight, and or if supply is tight and demand is high, we know prices go up. If we can find an equilibrium on that, then that can also help our affordability as well for our young families that need to get a home and establish their lives. So it's a little bit of a tough issue, no two ways about it.
I have a different question, and it is on growth. And I appreciate the fact that you guys are very interested in having lower taxes, in streamlining government, making it efficient. One of my and also bringing industry into Idaho, because we need industry. But one of my concerns is I keep hearing on kind of a nationwide level is data centers moving into an area, and then the electricity rates are going up more than people's mortgages. Like, people can't afford to even turn on the lights in their homes. And while I'm not against a data center coming down the road, you know, do we have the water? Do we have the electricity before we have something like that come in? And what is your plan? Because Idaho has grown. What are we doing to make it so that our electricity rates don't skyrocket, even if a data center doesn't move it? What are we doing to kind of work in that area?
Great question. So a couple things. On the data centers, anybody who's like read any of my comments, because I have a video on against the windmills, and somebody asked the same question. So here's the way I look at it is, just like we talked about with growth and with bringing in new business, I'm going to look for what's the best deal for the residents of Twin Falls County, right? So I don't like data centers. I think that, well, we know they take an inordinate amount of electricity, they take a crap ton amount of water. What are the things that we need more here, especially this year? Water, right? And the other thing is they don't really bring a lot of jobs. You know, they bring jobs to a lot of the outside contractors who go from place to place to place and do that. So I don't think it's a job creator. I don't like them, honestly. I'm going to give it a fair shake if someone, you know, presents something, but I'm probably a hard no on that, because I just don't think, again, that the juice is worth the squeeze. Now, on your point about electricity, one of the things about Idaho, when you look at it from a business standpoint, when big industries come into an area, one of the top things that they want to see is they want to see affordable electricity, because those guys suck up a lot of electricity. When I worked for Lamb Weston, I happened one day on the copier machine to see our Idaho power bill. Let me just tell you, it's a big bill, okay? It's like it's almost as much as a house every month. It probably is now. It's a lot. I couldn't believe it. I had to double take. So they use a lot of electricity. But the thing about our so one of our competitive advantages, so like when we go out as Twin Falls County, we go to recruit people to come in, one of the benefits that we have is come here because we have cheap electricity. The question is, why do we have cheap electricity? Because God's given us this amazing thing called the Snake River, and He gave us the brains to make dams, and that is the cheapest electricity basically in the country, right? Well, here's where the federal government and all the greenies get in the way. And a lot of our rhinos, I think, have sold out on this. Is windmills are the most expensive. Solar is right up there, the most expensive. So Obama mandated, back when he was president, God help us, when he was president, he mandated that we had to buy a certain amount of electricity. Well, what did that do to Idaho? That made us less competitive. Thank God California is so screwed up that, you know, we could probably triple our rates and still beat them out, right? But I'm really glad you brought that up. So the answer, I believe, to the electrical situation is we need clean nuclear power. We need good, clean, you know, gas-powered and gas-fired electrical facilities. And we need to continue to make dams and build for water retention for our ag, as well as for energy generation, because we cannot sleep on electricity. That is one of the reasons that so many businesses want to relocate here. And so I would certainly work to protect that. But data centers, pretty much a hard no for me. Great question. Thank you.
Okay, we're out of time. Talk to these guys afterwards, okay? We got to get the next group up on stage, or we're going to be here until 10 o'clock. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, this concludes this portion of the agenda, and I'm going to call on Mark Murphy, who's also running for PC for Buell number 4, and he's also going to be hosting the legislative candidates. Most of them are incumbents, except for William, so.
Thank you, Saul. Good evening, as Saul said, my name is Mark Murphy. I'm running for Precinct 4 committeeman. My background, I served 27 years on active duty in the Marine Corps, and I'm also the VFW post commander here in Buell, and I'm also the detachment commandant for the Magic Valley Marine Corps League. This evening, I had the pleasure of introducing Senator Zudeveld, as well as Representative Hosteller and Mr. Malster. I'm not going to bore anybody with my history or anything else outside of what I've just told you. We can talk afterwards so we can get some questions to our representatives here. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I have 3 minutes? Okay, or 2. I got 2 minutes, okay. So I'm Senator Seiderfeld, Glenita, and this will be my 3rd term that I'm running for office. And I grew up in Jerome. I have been here since I was 4. I did come from California, but I have no memories there.
Wish I didn't.
Yeah. Just a little bit, a lot of people know who I am, and a lot of people ask why I'm running and why I continue to run, because Idaho deserves fighters, and I'm a fighter. They also deserve somebody that's not afraid to go there and ask questions and get retaliated against. You guys deserve that. You deserve answers. And that's why we're getting a lot of pressure, is because of the questions I've been asking at the Capitol. I've been also getting a lot of pressure because I've exposed over $100 million of fraud, waste, and abuse that's going on in Boise. This is not happening in Washington, D.C. It's happening here. And they're not liking that. And so I will continue to go there. I'll continue to fight. I will continue to ask the tough questions because I do belong to you. I am the people's senator. I am your lobbyist. And I do not go there and just, I'm not a yes man or a yes woman. I'm not a yes woman. And so I will continue to do that, and I will continue to fight for you. I'll continue to be transparent. And there's going to be a lot of questions that I will be able to answer as we go, because I know a lot of you have a lot of questions of what's going on. I am on the JFAC committee, which is a Joint Finance Appropriation Committee, and I'm also on Health and Welfare, 2 of the biggest heavy lifting committees there is on the Senate side. And so I'm constantly busy, and I have a wealth of information that I will share. I work hard to be transparent. And then I also want to say thank you for coming, but I also want to give a shout out to my wonderful husband, who picks me up and dusts me off and throws me back in the ring a lot. So you guys need to make sure you give him some kudos, because it's not easy watching your wife get a lot of these nasty things. But you know what? We're victors. We're not victims. We are victors, and we're going to overcome, and we're going to fight for Idaho.
Thank you.
My name's Clint Hostetler, state representative here in District 24. Thank you. All right, have a good night. I'll go out on that. I wish I didn't have any memories of California. Unfortunately, this is actually, this church holds a special place in my heart because it was one of the first spots we came, and they opened their doors for us. And I think it's profound because, as I've been saying since the beginning, we're in a spiritual battle, right? We are in a spiritual battle in our nation, and it manifests or reveals itself socially and politically like never before. And when I got here, we're seeing like the influx of Marxism in our institutions and coming after our families and our children. They're coming for our children. They're coming for their hearts, minds, souls. And you can see that kind of taking shape in the Republican Party as we've heard the panel before us discuss some of the issues right now. And I decided, hey, I don't want this to turn into California, Oregon, Washington, New Mexico, you name the blue state. There's a saying that I've seen the scary movie and I recognize the opening scenes. And I heard that saying, I'm like, that's perfect, because the things I saw 30 years ago in California, I'm seeing here, and I saw 2 years ago when I decided to run. So I'm a father of one, and my beautiful bride of 16 years is moving to the back. It looks like to get some pictures. She left a career and a master's degree to homeschool our son. I'm a small business owner, and I am a Christian conservative, right? And I ran on the idea of true conservatism here, and it was really nuanced to a lot of people. You hear that term Republican or conservative, like moving around the spectrum of what does that mean? And I said, well, to me it means constitutional and individual liberties, right? Standing up first for the First Amendment. If we lose the First Amendment, we're done here, right? The Second Amendment, the 10th Amendment, we have to preserve our states' rights as we're watching the federal just collapse, right? And then the second is family values. As I'd mentioned before, they're coming after our children, and they're doing it through all of our institutions. You flip on the TV, social media, they're coming for our kids' hearts, souls, and minds. So I'm fighting for our families and our children. And of course, lower taxes, free market principles, these things that made our communities safe and secure and took the money out of the government so it had to limit its growth by virtue of that and keeps it in your pocket. You guys know how to spend your money better than we do. Well, maybe not us. But just kidding. And then, of course, insisting on a restrained and fiscally responsible, transparent, and accountable government. That's what I ran on. These days, you have to add secure elections and secure borders. Because there's two things right now that can take us the way of California very quickly, and we're watching it right now up in the Capitol, and we're battling against it. Government growth and not addressing the illegal immigration issue. Right? California right now spends $22 to $30 billion on illegal immigration. $22 to $30 billion on illegal immigration. And then you have all the downstream issues with that, right? The drugs, the crime, the sex trafficking, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, the two biggest budgets they hit are education and education and health and welfare, our two biggest budgets. So I ran on that platform. Just give me one quick second. I apologize. We listened to Creighton. Come on, listen to me here. I ran on that platform, and I'm proud to say I stood firm on those, and I'm going to continue to stand firm on that platform of true conservatism as long as you'll have me. So thank you. God bless.
My name is William Mosteller. Good evening, folks. Thank you for coming out tonight. It's a good show. So I grew up in northern Idaho, and as a kid we were impacted by NAFTA when they came in and they shut down all the log mills and totally destroyed our towns, but told us it was good for us, right? And so there wasn't a lot left besides service industries and everything. So when I became of age, maybe a little before, but don't tell the government, I started my first business subcontracting to property management companies. And then 07, 08 hit, and we went from sleeping on job sites to literally no work at all. And so I thought, well, I guess I'll join the Marine Corps. So I served with 3rd Light Armor Reconnaissance Battalion. I did 2 combat tours. I did 2 combat tours, one to Iraq, one to Afghanistan, and then I went back overseas as a government contractor, and I managed hundreds of millions of dollars in assets and equipment sets for the Marine Corps and general military. And sadly, a lot of that equipment was lost. Billions of dollars of taxpayers' money literally cut up with blowtorches and thrown in the back of Third World National dump trucks and hauled off base to be done with whatever they wanted. So I'm very familiar with the way government operates. But I moved back here to the Magic Valley after my service, and my wife, who I've known since we were 2 years old, I would point to her, but she went to the coast with the kids, so I'm here. But anyways, we have 6 children, and I am a small business owner. We have a construction company and a payment processing business, so I work with a lot of the local businesses, and I hear a lot of the complaints and issues that are going on with those businesses. And it's been very difficult, I know, for a lot of people when it comes to the taxes, illegal immigration, especially for us in the trades. I know many, many good guys who should be full schedules, but they are sitting at home, not able to work. And so that's why I decided I could no longer, probably like a lot of you, complain on the internet or just go up and testify like I did this last year in some of the committees, because no action was actually, nothing was coming out of it. And so that's why I decided to run.
Okay, for our two incumbents, we've seen a lot of the attack ads out there claiming that you've voted on different measures of support against our veterans, active reserve military, law enforcement, farmers, border security, you name it, there's an attack out there against you guys. Would you like to explain to us the other side of the story?
Okay, yes, a lot of that is due to the appropriations that we voted on. And I want to explain how the appropriations work so you can understand why we made the decisions that we made. This year we went into the session in a deficit, so we had to make a lot of rescissions and ask each agency to make some holdbacks. So we have what we call the maintenance budget, and there's 10 of those, one for each agency, and that is to hold and keep the state going. For example, the police budget, the maintenance budget is $111 million, and we voted for that. And then we also asked them, then they had to cut like 5% in that general budget part of that. And so we went through all that, they made the cuts, and then they turn around and we allow them to have enhancements. The enhancements are the extras that they're saying that they need. So we just went and said, you have to make these holdbacks. And then they turned around, for example, the police, after they did the 5% holdback in the maintenance part of the budget, they wanted a 4.4% enhancement of about almost $5 million extra onto that $111 million. So it wasn't, we didn't defund anything. What we're saying is we are trying to be responsible with your tax dollars. We realize that we are in a deficit. We realize that there's a lot of things coming and inflation and everybody here is struggling. And so we were disciplined in saying that we will make sure that we vote for those maintenance budgets. So the police got $111 million in the maintenance. We just voted against the $4 million of the extra enhancements. And so they're making a lot of those, and you can do that with the veterans as well. You can do that with ag. Everybody had a maintenance. By the time we finished doing our budget last year, including the rescissions, by the time all those enhancements got voted back in, our budget was 2.5% more than it was last year, even after we said that we needed to have those rescissions. And so those were the reasons why we were saying no, and that's why they're saying in a lot of these ads that we're not for police, we are 100% for all of trying to keep Idaho going. But we also have to be responsible, because Idaho has a spending problem, and we need to start cutting that back. So that is the reason why a lot of these attack ads are coming out, is because we were being responsible with your tax dollars.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just to dovetail off of that, no one's mentioning that we voted for 2 raises for ISP and for teachers as well in that maintenance. And of course, you mentioned the maintenance budget. Really, the budget is split into 2 things. The maintenance, keeping the train moving down the track, keeping government as a whole, which many times, by the way, comes with new full-time employees and pay raises. So then you have the enhancements, the little extras, right? I use the illustration that I give my wife our paycheck and I say, hey, pay the truck payment this month. And she says, okay, hey, can we tint the windows? No, we can't afford it this month, maybe next month, but make the truck payment. So I use that illustration. But right now, what makes conservatives conservatives, it is to make sure that you have somebody there to make the hard decisions, to preserve our social safety nets, to make sure that we have the economic security for our children and our small businesses. Government does not grow in a vacuum, right? As government grows, we've seen it at the federal level. They're now $39 trillion in debt. We don't get to print our own money, right? So the more we continue to grow, it comes at the cost of your liberties, at your pocketbook. It comes at the cost of our state sovereignty. And there's so many other, once again, downstream issues that we have to deal with that it's really hard to make these decisions. But yeah, misrepresentation at best for a lot of these. The water was the same thing. We voted for all the water issues until the $30 million ongoing, which means that 30 million, which was an extra, once again, enhancement, which means it does not come before the legislature, which means there's no accountability, no transparency, and it goes to an unelected board that we have nothing to do with, right? This was to add to a water pot, if you will, for lack of a better term, that was now sitting almost at $500 million. So there's a lot of context that people aren't giving you, but once again, the hard decisions need to be made now before the harder ones come for the future for our kids.
And just real quick, being on JFAC, I have asked for every dollar spent of that 30 million from last year. And so I will be doing a deep dive so I can actually answer back to you of how that 30 million was spent. And they'll be getting back to me here this next week with every detail of how every dime was spent of that 30 million.
Great. Thank you. One point that I wanted to ask, within the Idaho Constitution, does it allow you to have an unbalanced budget?
It does not.
That's what I thought.
It does not.
All right, Madam Senator, what is your solution to the budget cuts for the special needs communities?
This is a tough one. So being on health and welfare and on JFAC, so part of our problem is the federal government is the biggest portion of the money that we spend. So to give it as just an overview, depending on the program, it's either 90% federal, 10% state, 80, 20, 70, 30. The state being the smallest portion of all of that. So what we're seeing now with a lot of the programs that we're doing, the federal is starting to either pull back or remove the program. So the state has to decide if we are going to continue that program or are we going to just let it go because we don't have the money. Well, here's the deal. Our revenue that we bring in to the state is about $5.6 billion. Our outgo is almost $16 billion when you count the continuous spending. We don't have really a lot of extra. So for example, the SNAP program this year, it used to be 75% federal paid, 25% for the state. This year, we had to do 50-50. Again, being in a deficit year, we're trying to figure out how we're going to continue to keep these programs going. And so it's a very, very difficult decision. Our health and welfare budget is about $5.6 billion of our budget. So even if the federal went away, all we bring in is $5.6 billion. So these are things that we need to start really talking about as a community, how we can actually take a lot of these things that the federal government and the government is doing and bring it back into the communities, back to the churches, back to where that was the original intent of that. Because the federal is $39 trillion and growing in debt, and we are seeing them, especially in your health and welfare, and not just in one area, in every single area where the federal is involved, they're starting to pull back their portion of what the state, and either we have to keep it going or figure out, what we're going to fund and what we're not going to fund. So that's the ugly, hard decisions that we've been having to make this year.
Thank you. One other question for you, ma'am. How much is illegal immigration costing us here in Idaho?
So I was just trying to find an updated version of it. So back in 2023, it was $440 million that it cost Idaho taxpayers. I found an update, so it's about $475 million is what the illegal immigration is costing the taxpayers here in Idaho. That's not federally, that's just in the state.
All right. Thank you. Representative Hosteller, it's been said that you've got a pretty hard stance against illegal immigration. Some say that you have like a heartless view by expecting them to adhere to our laws. Would you like to elaborate on your stance on this issue?
Oh boy, how much time do we have?
Not a lot.
I mean, at the end of the day, this is the hard thing. Are we a nation of laws or are we not? Every sovereign nation and really state, it depends on borders and laws. And we are at the time, we're once again jumping on to kind of piggybacking off of that. Most government growth comes wrapped in benign or benevolent programs or packaging, right? And a lot of it's emotionally deceptive, and they use the emotional narrative to keep you focused away from the fiscal aspect. Like, when was the last time we heard the left talk the fiscal issues, right? It's been decades as far as I'm concerned. They use a lot of the emotional issues. So we're getting one side on the front in the popular opinion or the PR about the emotional aspects or some of the fiscal aspects. The reality is, how far do we go? If I'm hungry and I don't have a job, do I now have the ability to steal? Well, of course not, because at the end of the day, it's against the law. We have to enforce the laws, and we have to put Idahoans first. And that is not anti this group or anti that. It's pro-America, it's pro-law and order, and it's the moral thing to do. So that is the surface level aspect of it. Philosophically, it's the moral thing to do. There's so much more in regards to the downstream realities of the moral decline of any civilization when you have open borders and you abuse laws and the morals spiral down. We're dealing with things like we never thought we'd deal with here. The fentanyl, the drugs, the sex trafficking, the violence, it comes in by virtue of these things. And I'm not impugning a specific group of people, right? It's just a moral erosion that happens when we turn a blind eye to the law and order and our borders and our sovereignty to become what? An economic zone? We are a nation of people and culture and history, and Idaho is hardworking people. We can work through this problem. We can fill these spots, and we have laws, and we need to adhere to those. So it's a little discouraging when people think it heartless, but I want to look after my son. I want him to have a job in the trades or fast food and get that first job to springboard his way up to be a law-abiding, successful citizen.
Right. Thank you. Also, would you like to explain to us what merit-based health care is and why it's important?
Yeah, that was thank you, an easier question. I'll take that.
Oh, I got a different one next.
Merit-Based Healthcare Act was a bill I carried this last year. And essentially what it says is that who's in favor of DEI policies? Yeah, me neither. So they're divisive, they're discriminatory, and it's, used to be called political correctness, then it was, DEI and woke, right? That's what this is. And so I carried a bill that said, hey, any Medicaid provider, Medicaid is a voluntary program, if you take and you get reimbursements from the federal government, you can no longer practice DEI in healthcare industry. You cannot hire based on DEI policies, you cannot practice DEI policies, and you cannot market outwardly DEI policies. And once again, it's discriminatory. Let's treat everybody equally. But more importantly, we've been making strides in our education system at the federal level. This administration's been pushing it out, because it's wrong, right? We don't want to say one group is inherently better than the other because of this, that, and the other feature. You get elevated. At the end of the day, we want to treat everybody equally. And in our healthcare and in our education, can we think of two better industries or areas that we want people treated equally and getting the best quality of education and the best quality of healthcare? I mean, my sexual preference should have no bearing on how they treat my broken arm or the flu or whatever it is. And so this was a first step, and I think Senator Cole, who showed up recently, and carried it on the Senate side. So we got it through, and we got it passed, and it's now law. And it's one of the first of its kind in the United States.
One last question for you, sir. Well, there's some of us in here that may not understand what cloud seeding is. Would you like to explain that to us and what we can expect with transparency?
Yeah, I'll try to make this quick. So we have a bigger program going on in the United States and really across the globe. It's called geoengineering weather modification. Cloud seeding fits into weather modification. Weather modification, I'm going to speak fast to try and get this quick, but if you have more questions, let me know. Weather modification happens on a lower scale, if you will, more local. Geoengineering happens on a solar. The idea of global. The idea of geoengineering or solar geoengineering is the idea by people that believe we are in a climate crisis and we need to mitigate that ASAP. And their idea is you can look it up, dimming the sun. If we can dim the sun by 1%, we can cool the planet. So you have two forms that comes in. Solar radiation modification, and the main aspect of that is stratospheric aerosol injection, where they take planes and shoot, or balloons, and a couple other methods, but the main one is taking planes that shoot out micro metals and particles, aluminum, barium, strontium, and other things, sulfur dioxide, into the stratosphere to spread out to block the sun. And that's supposedly going to cool. So that's solar geoengineering. Cloud seeding is the weather modification on the small level. Many of our western states do it. Ironically, most of our dry western states that happen to deal with droughts all the time do it. It happens in certain areas I believe, across our state, and it happens in specific months, November through April, and it happens in pre-existing clouds. Pre-existing clouds. They're not trying to create anything. It's not the lines you'd see in the sky, the SAI. So what they do is they pump, usually they have ground-based generators that will use propane and shoot it up, but most of the time it's flares that are shot out of small propeller planes into existing clouds that look like they're going to rain. And these flares consist of silver iodide, and that's the main ingredient that they usually advertise and say it's okay, but there's also acetone and propane there as well. So these things are coming down into our clouds through our rainwater. Rainmaker, which operates in Utah, just came out recently and said they are also putting an insecticide in theirs. So we now are dealing with silver iodide, and if you look that up on PubChem, it is toxic, and they say, well, just small levels, this, that, and the other, but we don't really understand the long-term effects of bioaccumulation, and now we're putting insecticide into our clouds that's coming down in through rain, etc. If we want to preserve our air, our children's health, our soil, our water, these are things that we need to address. Really quickly, I tried to bring a piece of legislation forward that just simply said this: if cloud seeding is good and we're all behind it, one, you don't need to have immunity. I'm always skeptical if any company has immunity. There's only a few that have them, and we know vaccine companies have immunity. Gun manufacturers do, and rightly so, and then a conglomerate of airline associates. But I said we shouldn't have immunity, because if this is healthy and it's above board, that's okay. Two, we want third-party data. All the data we receive here in Idaho is from the cloud seeders themselves. Three, it needs to come through the legislature. And four, we need transparency of ingredients. And I'll wrap it up with this, and I appreciate your grace on this.
Yep.
I couldn't even get that bill heard because Idaho Power came in and shut it down. There was a report done that Idaho took part in years ago, back in 2024, the GAO report. It was the Government Accountability Office. It's a nonpartisan government commissioned report on cloud seeding in our western states. It came back with some very concerning data that shoots holes in our seeders' data. One was saying you don't want to get information from your seeders. Why? Well, it's like the fox guarding the hen house. Their data is going to be skewed. And then there was a lot of other data that talked about it stealing water at best and negligible result when you look at the whole thing. We're now getting reports out of South Dakota and some other states that are saying that they're getting droughts from it. And at best, once again, it's stealing water. And so there's a lot of concerns I have. And I stood up on the House and I said, if cloud seeding works and you're transparent and we get legitimate information, let's double down. Because we're now in a drought year and we've been pushing this stuff. California, one of the first cloud seeding states, always in a drought. So I have some questions and concerns. I'm not anti, I just want more information.
Understandable. Thank you. Mr. Mostello, I butcher names all the time. It's the Marine in me. I spent 4 years as a drill instructor. He'll understand.
Oh, yeah.
Your name is what we call you. First of all, would you mind telling us what brought you to the decision of running for office?
What brought me to the decision of running for office was seeing the effects of illegal immigration on our community. You know, they went over some really good points here, and ditto to all of it. That's it's a lot bigger issue, I think, than most people realize. So it's not only guys losing work, but also it's driving wages down. And so we've seen record inflation, we've seen record migration, as well as expense to the state. And it's just too hard for people to actually get by now. And consistently, I've watched as our legislature, not these folks, but some of the other rhinos that are in and rerunning, they just don't care about the actual people. They only care about the corporate interest. And so, you know, I just could no longer, again, sit back and continue to watch our jobs, you know, losing our jobs and then losing the wages on top of it. Some of the trades actually are down 50%. And another aspect of it as well is when we're talking about these workers, if they are paying are paying taxes, then they're stealing Social Security numbers. And so what happens to that young person who gets their first job and an illegal immigrant has stolen their Social Security number and they go file taxes for the first time? Right now they're stuck with the bill and fighting the IRS, which I don't know if any of you have had to deal with them, but it's not fun, and it's almost impossible to actually talk to someone or do anything about it. They want their money first, and then they'll talk to you after. So another side of that as well is my brother. He worked for the IRS, and but he was a good one. He tracked he tracked the payments that actually left this country through things like Western Union and these different money sending organizations to South America and Mexico. That was his department. That's what they did. He now works at UNLV as the business manager, but 6 years ago when he was still there, the last figure we had was $12 billion a month out of the United States. So now take into account 6 years, right? How many people have come in and how many of those people are not only not paying very much in taxes, if they are, because they claim, you know, maximum dependence on that W-2 when they get hired. So a majority of their money gets sent down south, which leaves our economy here. So we might as well not even have that job in the economy. When they talk about the economy is going to crash if we get rid of all the illegal immigrants, they're a net loss overall because every single one of you is subsidizing their health care, the schooling for their kids, and what else? The criminal system, everything, right? And so overall, it's just a net loss overall. And then secondly, I would say the impact on the family farms and the future. One thing that's really great about immigrants is they have anywhere from 4 to 6 children on average. And those children don't want to work the farm either. So what they do is exactly what we see in California. They move into the city grows bigger, right? More service industry jobs, yes, and they do pay taxes, but they vote against the interest of the farm every single time. Go look at Fresno, that used to be one of the largest dairy hubs in the United States, and now it's run by maybe 1 or 2 large corporations, and there is no farmer. So that is something else that needs to be considered, and that's why I decided to run.
Well, thank you. And with that, this will caveat right into my next question, and that's what do you plan to accomplish during your first term or hope to accomplish?
Obviously, immigration bills, get those through. My opponent has voted against every single immigration bill, including welfare benefits for illegal immigrants. Bill HB 123, I believe it was, or 132. 135. Okay. I made a post about it on my Facebook if you guys want to go look. So that's a big deal right there. We need to cut the cost of the taxpayer. And then secondly, I would go to my contracting time in the government. We need actual transparency so the public themselves, you guys, can actually hold them accountable for what they're spending. So what I would like to see, and hopefully I know I'll get help on this side figuring out how to actually make this happen, but what we need is a true accounting, just like in a business or Idaho Sunshine with campaigns. You know exactly who gives me money, their address, their names, everything, right? We need to know exactly how much that police badge cost, who provided it, the contract, the whole nine. It needs to be clearly laid out and easily findable within a system. And then that way the public can actually hold the government accountable for all the spending across the board.
Great. You mentioned your opponent and some illegal immigration. So what's your solution and how's it different than your opponent's?
And I have two opponents. One has a sixth-generation farmer. He has remained completely silent on the situation. I haven't heard one statement, but I've heard a few deflections. So I am not sure what I would do different than him. Probably enforce the law.
That'd be a good place to start.
That's where I would start. And then as far as my other opponent, the incumbent, I would vote to actually pass regulation like 704 E-Verify, which will actually help keep ICE out of the community as far as having to operate day-to-day, door-to-door kind of situation. Because if there's no money here for them to work, they're not going to stay. And if they have to prove their citizenship, which is what 704 did, they're not going to be able to get hired. And so that's a really good solution, and then we can also work with ICE, especially on the criminal aspect, which would be one of the other bills that we tried to get through this year that allowed law enforcement to actually collect the data on the illegal immigrants. Because currently, and tell me if this is fair, if an illegal immigrant gets pulled over, he just gets let go. And there's no data, there's no nothing, right? No driver's license, no nothing. But if you get pulled over and you don't have your driver's license, what's going to happen to you? There's a chance you're going to get hauled off, right? And so, again, what's fair for Idahoans and the community at large?
All right, thank you. Now, I myself, I'm a transplant here. I came here because my wife's family moved here first, and then she wanted to get closer to her family. So after my retirement and my youngest son from my first marriage graduated, we decided to move up here. Also, being in the military and a veteran, I'd like to know what your proposal will be to help preserve Idaho's sovereignty. Because I know for myself, Idaho gave me a new home. I bounced around the world for nearly 30 years. And this was the first place that I actually sat down and could really call home, not because the Marine Corps put me here. So how would you propose to protect the sovereignty of Idaho?
Number one thing would be we get off the federal crack. We get off we get off the federal dollars. And we do that by, again, transparency, cutting spending, and ensuring that the money that is going into some of these programs is actually used correctly and not fraudulently. I would want to shout out Mark Fitzpatrick back there. He actually exposed some of the fraudulent daycares in Boise that they weren't legitimate operations. They were just like the stuff you see in Minnesota.
All right, thank you.
Oh, is this for all three of us or just him?
Well, that was just for him there. My question for the three of you before we close out my session is, why are you a better choice than your opponent? What are you going to do to earn our
Ladies
vote?
first? Okay.
Yes, ma'am, of course.
Okay. Or senator first? Okay.
Ladies first.
So what makes me better is I have always been the people's choice. I have worked my tail off to get this position, winning in 2022 by 37 votes. I outworked the incumbent then. I will outwork any challenger, anybody that's doing, I will outwork. I get there at 6 a.m. I usually don't leave until 8. I try to get to bed by 8 so I can turn around and get there by 6 a.m. again, because I work really hard. And again, and on the Senate side, we get to choose our committees, and I chose the two hardest committees because I am a hard worker. And what also makes me different is I haven't been in getting a government check for 35 years.
That's important.
The other thing that makes me different is my challenger has also voted in his pay raise as a commissioner. We worked to decline our pay raise because when we heard that we were getting a 42% increase is what the original was by the Citizen Committee, we're like, there's just no way we can accept that because no one in this room, nowhere, anywhere gets a 42% increase. So then they brought it down to 22%, and we're still, that is way too much. So we brought a resolution to reject it. So I fought hard to reject my pay raise because I do belong to the people. I am one of you, and I see how hard you guys are struggling, and I worked really hard to make sure you're represented. You're the forgotten man out there. This senator remembers you. I have mentioned you many times on the floor. I have mentioned you many times in JFAC, saying that we cannot forget the forgotten man who is out there working to pay the taxes, and here we are growing our government. You know, I believe my challenger will also grow government. I work to not bring on full-time employees. Do you realize that Idaho is the largest sole employer in the state of Idaho? That's a problem, and we cannot sustain that. You guys will have to work 3 or 4 jobs to help us pay for that. And that is the problem that we're having. And I will work hard to make sure that we're more efficient, that we will be constitutional too. A lot of things that we're doing isn't constitutional. And we need to, and I take an oath to that. We all take an oath. We all swear that on the very first day, that we will uphold the Constitution. Many of them don't even realize what is in the Constitution and what we're able to fund and what we're not able to fund. And then we were talking about property tax earlier. Idaho could be the first one to do it. We can be the first one to do it. If you vote for people who will go there and say, we will rein in our spending. We are wasteful spenders. I see it, you know, and we need to start cutting that back. But it's a hard thing to do because when you start cutting back, then that's when you get a lot of the government agencies and the government employees, they don't like that. But we can't continue to do that. And also I will fight for our sovereignty. I have been fighting for our sovereignty. Because I have said from day one when I was a freshman, the very first thing I saw was our dependency on the federal. We lose local control with every federal dollar we take. We need to start getting off of that as much as possible. I will fight for that. And so I think you have seen a huge difference. I am not backed by a lot of your PACs and your special interests. Day one when I got in there, I told them, I said, when they come in and the lobbyists, there's over 300 lobbyists representing over 500 companies, and they come into your office because we're new, fresh blood, and they would come into my office and I would tell them, I said, before we waste each other's time, I said, I know how I got here and it wasn't you. It was all of you. And so then I said, I'm here to cut the wasteful spending and I'm here to expose waste, fraud, and abuse. A lot of them got up and left and haven't talked to me since. You will hear that they say, oh, she's a disruptor. Well, I don't think that you guys hired me or voted me in to go along, to get along with the government status quo. I am there to disrupt what's going on, and I will continue to do that. And you will see that's the difference between me and my challenger. He will go along to get along, and you can tell just by who is backing him on his Sunshine Report.
Yeah, and really quickly, to echo that point, I mean, if anyone knows what the Zeidervelds have been going through lately, they are laying it out on the line for you guys, right? Like, they are battling up against the institution, the industries, and they're pushing forward. No fear, right? What's that original thing? Life, sacred honor, fortune, right? And really, that's what it's all about. And so,
I hope they don't take my life.
But I know Jesus.
What's next, right? Yeah, Hosanna Maranatha. Yeah, to echo that, like, I've been up there and I stood on what I said I'd do. I took my win as a mandate from the people to stand on those things, and I went and voted. Going up there, it's a very seductive place, like she talked about. They will tell you, we're going to come after you if you don't handle this, if you don't go along to get along. The pressure, you know, you could be moving up if you just, there's always constant pressure to compromise, really. And so we see that daily. And I'm grateful for the example that she set for me. I stood firm on my convictions, made the hard votes. As I said before, what makes a true convicted Christian conservative is someone whose interest is not in politics. It's not my own kingdom. I'm not there to build my own kingdom. I've taken a hit as I've left. I'm the sole provider, small business owner, but I got up there because I don't want to see Idaho fall like California, Washington, Oregon. Like I said before, none of us want that. And so the individual comes first over the institutions, the systems, the agencies, the corporations, all these things. And you need people that are going to be up there to represent that. I've, been able to have some of the best grades in Idaho when it comes to scoring as far as national and state GOP. One of the top scoring conservatives we both have. And so I followed through on that. And that's the proof's in the pudding. And I don't want to brag on that because that's what I claimed I was going to do. And I stood on that, and I'll continue to do that. Really, once again, just to follow through, there's a theme going on if people don't understand here. My candidate, the same thing. She says illegal immigration is negligent and she doesn't want to touch it. She's all for the expansion. Probably never met a spending bill she wouldn't like. Her history in the city council, there's just a pattern of two types of politicians, if you will. Like, we consider ourselves statesmen. We look to the next generation, not the next election. And there's others that want to build their kingdom and move up. I don't want to build a kingdom. That building is full of people that want to build or preserve their kingdoms. They've got in there to preserve their institutions. We're not here. We're here to preserve our liberties, our God-given rights, our First Amendment, preserve our moral soil. If I can't protect my son from what's coming and your children and your grandkids, then vote me out. But Idaho is the line in the sand as far as I'm concerned. We're not moving anyplace else. I hate the humidity, and I joke when cockroaches start flying around, that's a no-go for me. So Idaho's where it's at. I like the cold. I like this environment. I love the people here. You're hardworking, industrious people, and that's why we're going to win again. We're going to win bigger, and we're going to continue to push back against the corporatocracy that's coming to exploit Idaho for its land, its energy, its water, and use us all, throw us under the bus, not on our watch.
Thank you.
What separates me from both my opponents, I would figure, would be I grew up in northern Idaho in a tiny little trailer out in the woods. My father was a biker, Vietnam veteran, and it was a very rough childhood. I was on my own from the time I was 16. And so everything that I have in my life, I have fought for, and I've never borrowed a single dollar from anyone. Being rich is nothing to me. I don't care about it. I've done very well with my own investing and everything, with my own businesses. You can talk to anyone who's ever worked for me. I have given them more than anyone else has ever given them because I believe in being fair and not greedy. And I think that's what separates me from probably both of my opponents who've been blessed, and that's good for them. But I know what it's like to have to build it from the ground up, and I know what hard work is. And so if you elect me and I get up there, that's what I plan on doing, is hard work and fighting for actual conservative values, not corporate interests, not my own self-interest.
We'll keep them in line.
Thank you. Unfortunately, because I threw a couple off-cuff questions that I wrote myself, there's not enough time for some questions and answers with these three. You'll be able to meet up with them once we finish up and ask as many questions as you want. I want to leave you with one thing, though. I first met the senator here about 3-4 years ago, and it was a phone call asking her where she stood as far as faith went, because I saw a billboard when I was in Boise. And she was on the phone with me for about 2 hours, explaining to me faith, family, and Idaho. And part of that family is the military history that goes along with her family. She's a proud mother of some sons that joined the Army, and she was our guest of honor and guest speaker for the Marine Corps birthday a couple years ago. And she did her homework on the speech that she gave us and ensured that she knew what a Marine was. And that's something that we've, as far as the veteran community that I'm a part of, and also the Marine Corps League, that's something that we really appreciated, was her attention to detail and her heart and where it's at. And I also know for a fact that the question as far as them being against farming and the police and our military and everything, we needed to see and hear the other side of the coin from what's being placed out there in all those ads. Thank you.
And I just want to shout out, he'll be an excellent representative, PC, for Buell 2.
4.
Buell 4. But he, and I just want to explain, your PCs are your closest to your people, and they live in your neighborhood. You can go to them, and then they can bring information to us, and then they also can write resolutions as a central committee that we can actually carry legislation in Boise. So these positions are very important, and so I ask for the PCs that are in this room that you talk to them, because those are very important positions, just as important as mine.
Thank you. Mr. Fitzpatrick is here to speak as well, and William Youngster is running for Buell 5. William?
Thank you. I'm William Nuncaster, and I'm running for PC for Buell 5, and I'm doing it because I don't like the way things have been going, and I want to help represent other people that feel the same in my precinct. I'm a small business owner. I grew up in the city, left for a while, came back, and I just want to do my part, and I know we're short on time, and I want to get Mark Fitzpatrick up here to talk, give him plenty of time to talk. And thank you for coming.
How long am I going here? Does anybody know? Okay. Does that include questions? Okay. All right, so I do want to start off with some good news. We've been traveling around, and this is our 59th in-person event that we've been to in a couple months. It's been crazy. Over 6,000 or 8,000 miles we've driven. 8,000 miles around Idaho, and we got to go to a lot of events, and a lot of them were just like this one, where you have a panel speaking. The good news that I want to tell you is, and hopefully this doesn't offend other people, these are the best speakers of any event that I've been to, the ones that you have here. So that's pretty encouraging. I really like it. The last event I was at was a lot different. I'm going to tell you about it. It was in Boise, at Boise High School. It was just a few days ago. And the rules were given pretty strictly at the beginning. They said there's no clapping allowed, no cheering, no noise. They're going to have exactly 3 minutes, and it's very regiment, and I wore a suit to that one because I knew it was going to be that way. But here, things are a lot more relaxed. I'm seeing a lot of people smiling in the crowd, and you can feel the warmth, and I love it. It's awesome. And as I'm going around Idaho and speaking with people, I'm just falling in love more and more with the people of Idaho. And it just the people that know that we have an amazing gift, and that we need to be starting to take care of it. But after that event in Boise, it was Boise High School, the ceiling was probably 3 times as tall as this ceiling. And the room was way bigger, and there was about the same amount of people that you have here tonight. How many more people do they have in that populated area than you have around here? And yet you have the same amount of people showing up. It's pretty disappointing. And it's something that it's one of my main goals that I want to do as governor, is to get the people far more involved, give the power back to the people, and get them far more involved in their government, encouraging them to be good stewards of this amazing government that we've been given. So we did our 3-minute segments and 1-minute answers. We got 1 question, got 1-minute answer. And they were interesting. You can see them online. If you go look at them, you might fall asleep. So just fast forward to my part. But there's 6 or 7 other people running for governor, just so you know. And Brad Little sent in a pre-recorded video. We had 3 minutes to speak. He was the guy not there, which is pretty typical. He's pretty typically not there. And so he sent a 47-second video in, and it was horrible. I'm trying to get a copy of it so I can comment on it online. But as soon as I do, I'll post it with my commentary. But it was really, really just bad. It's almost like he just doesn't want to even be doing what he's doing. So that evening finished, and I left. I'm walking to my car. Are anybody familiar with my car? So it's got a wrap on it. It's out there. You just can't miss it. And it drives itself. It's pretty neat. And I'm going to my car. It's got this big eagle. It's super patriotic wrap. And I get back to my car, and I open the door, and across the street from Boise High School, this guy comes out of his house. And he's an ultra leftist. And I could tell by the way he presented himself and what he was wearing, but also as soon as he opened his mouth. Okay, so this guy used every expletive you can imagine, screaming at me. He was waiting for me to get back to the car, okay? Basically, he had a severe case of Fitzpatrick derangement syndrome. I get back to my car, he comes out of his house, and he's screaming at me. He used the F word as a verb, noun, and adjective in the same sentence. And this type of stuff happens to me often, so I've trained myself to pull my phone out and start recording. So I just start recording, and he's just screaming at me as he's coming towards me with all these expletives and everything and threats and whatnot. And I'm right about that time, I'm thinking about, what am I going to do here? You know, this could get physical. And then this other gentleman who knows me and heard this guy screaming, he came to defend me and challenged the guy. They ended up calming down, and I saw it as a good opportunity for me to kind of like get in my car and leave. And I left before they hugged. I don't know what happened after I left. But I want you to know that we live in a time where we want to be electing people that extreme leftists have a severe derangement syndrome over, because those people that we're electing that cause that kind of reaction out of leftists, it's probably because they're telling the truth about life, right? And it's like these people here, you speak truth in a world full of deception and evil, and they're going to react, and they're going to react violently. Another story that I have for you, somebody mentioned the daycares. I was doing some daycare investigations after Nick Shirley did them in December, and he kind of inspired me. And I'm not a guy who's really shy of confrontation. I have no problem talking with people and knocking on their door, especially if they have hundreds of thousands of dollars going to them from taxpayers. So I knocked on about 25 doors over 4 days, and I put out videos. We edited videos together on these. Has anybody seen any of those? If you have, raise your hand. Okay, 10, 15, good. And they are very much like the Nick Shirley videos, but even, I think, a little bit more entertaining, because I kind of tried to do it like a Cops episode almost. And I would go up and knock on the door, but this one lady, I knocked on her door, and she came outside, and I'm talking to her, and I started to ask her questions about the money, and she said, "I'm not receiving any money. What are you talking about?" And so I pulled my phone out, and I was starting to show her on the websites that actually report it per business and per address. I'm starting to show her, and she says, "Wait a minute, who are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm an official taxpayer." So she looks back at me and she says, oh, okay. And then she starts to answer my questions. And I showed her this money that she had received, I think it was $300,000 or something over the last 4 years or something like that. It's a ridiculous amount. And she says, okay, yeah, actually, it's true. Those were grants. Those were grants. It's not, I don't, and I said, well, that's taxpayers' money coming to you, right? And she said, yes, well, I'm running a business here and I get these grants. I said, okay, well, how many kids are you supposed to be watching? And she said, 12. Or how many are you licensed for, being paid for? 12. How many do you have here today? Oh, I don't, today's not a normal day. I didn't go inside the house, but I think she only had 1 or 2, was my guess, based off of anything that I was observing and hearing. And this is actually one of the places where there was maybe even a partial business actually happening. Most of the places I went to, there wasn't even anything there, and some of them had inspections just weeks prior, and there was just nothing there. I did go to one that was a more medical facility, and it had received $3 million over the past 5 years or so, and there was no sign of any medical facility there. It was an apartment address. I verified it, checked. That much money had gone there. It was right about this time, because I had been praying through this season of time, I was actually praying about running for governor. I would still be doing that stuff and investigating that stuff and showing everybody on video, but I actually decided at that point that I need to run. I brought a letter. Well, first of all, yeah, a couple senators saw that, and everybody talked about it and was raising a bunch of hoopla. They wrote letters, and as a result, 28 places got shut down, which is great. That's a big win. I think it goes to show, actually, when the light starts getting shined and exposure happens, people who are doing evil things will flee. They'll run. They don't want to be exposed. They don't want that light. And so things start happening very quickly. So as bad as things may seem, and we'll talk about some of these bad things a little bit later, I would encourage you to have hope, because I think things can change really quickly back to what's right and true and good, and I think that we can do that together. So I brought this letter after I did these daycare investigations, and I was just like, this is insane that, we're looking at Minneapolis saying, oh my gosh, look at the corruption they got over there. Good thing we're in a red state, right? And that's what everybody says, wrong, right. So I'll put a bookmark right there for a second. I have to give you this analogy because it's such a good analogy. I want you guys to use it when you're talking with people. It's the beautiful red shiny sports car analogy. Some of you have probably heard it. Idaho is a big, beautiful red sports car. It's shiny, and you walk around it, and you're showing your friends, and it's amazing, and everybody's oohing and awing over this sports car. And talking about, how pretty it is, and the seats, and the leather, and the red paint that's been polished and everything else, and somebody says, pop the hood, and you go over and you pop the hood and open the hood, and inside is this disgusting blue engine. That's Idaho right now. Maybe not quite that extreme, but it's getting there. Maybe it's a purple engine right now. It's pretty purple, I think. But it's going this direction of blue, and we don't want to think we're in a red state, but really what's operating it ends up being something that's very blue, and that's the direction we're going. We need to stop that. So I brought this letter in to the governor's office. I filmed it, dropping it off to his secretary. I had emailed it a few days earlier as well, but I wanted to make sure they got the physical copy, and I wanted to film myself doing that so I could show you all. And she said to me that they had already received it and they were already aware of it and that he would be getting back to me. But the letter said that we, the people, would like to meet with you, Mr. Governor, because we have questions. We have questions about the Health and Welfare Department, the budget there, the fraud that I saw going on, refugees, illegals, NGOs, chemtrails, or weather modification, etc. And I said, we want to meet with you in a room, just like this. I said I would put cameras up and film it and put it out to everybody in Idaho. It would give you an opportunity to give confidence to the people of Idaho that you have everything under control and there's nothing to be concerned about. Yes, exactly. So she said he would get back to me, but he completely ignored me. I also made note in the letter that the reason that we have to do this is because we do not have a local media that will ask the governor any tough questions at all. And our media, we know our media is very, very liberal, okay? Ask yourself, why would a very liberal media not ask challenging questions to a Republican governor? Well, because he's the best governor they're going to get in Idaho is the answer to that question. He's an allower. He's not a leader. He's an allower. And so I got completely ignored with this letter I dropped. Right about that time, my wife and I came to the same conclusion after praying that I really need to move forward with this. I stopped my investigations. I planned my campaign from that point. Right now, I'm going to backtrack a little bit and just tell you a little bit about myself. But first, I guess I would want to say this. I think I'm preaching to the choir here when I say that I've learned so much about how much deception is in this world the last couple years, and it hurts my heart, and it feels like, man, this is almost like an insurmountable task to try to get goodness back and family values back and everything else. And it's like it's woven deep into the fabric of our society, and it's like, how do you get that out of it, right? And I think that the more we look and the more you see, and we're talking things like satanic ritual abuse, and we're talking things like child trafficking, Epstein's list, all that type of stuff, and Baphomet worship, essentially, is what we're talking about when you start. I see some nodding heads. These things used to be only that you would hear about them, and it would be this like conspiracy theory type of thing that are happening in very dark places. But those of us who have been paying attention have seen it celebrated in the middle of our most celebrated football game, and seen it in the opening ceremonies of the International World Olympics, right in front of our face, being pushed onto us, Satanism, satanic images and everything. If there's ever a time to wake up and do something, it's right now, because we are at that point. And so when you go to the ballot box and you call people and say, get to the ballot, go vote on May 19th, you need to be trying to find people who are going to stand for what is true, okay? I think I've thought a lot about truth lately, and truth for me is Jesus Christ. He is the way, the truth, and the life. And when he came, he said, he came to a very wicked world with wicked leaders doing things that were not right. And he brought truth. And he said, don't think I came to bring peace. I came to bring division. When you bring truth into that world, like I said at the beginning, you're going to cause a reaction. There's going to be division. It got so bad that they killed him for it, right? So on that note of just knowing, like, you need to, the number one thing, policy is important. And by the way, I agree with everything that I heard tonight regarding policy. And if you want to know where I stand on policy, I'll stand out there or here or whatever and answer questions until 2 a.m. They kick us outside, whatever. I'll answer questions as long as you want. But if you want to know where I stand on policy, read the Idaho Republican platform. It's pretty much right on as far as where I'm at with almost everything. But since it's important to know that you are electing people who stand for truth, I just want to tell you a little bit about my life so you can get to know me and decide if I'm the right guy for you to vote for or not. I was born in California. Glenita, are there any guns pointed at me? Okay. Born and raised in California to a police officer family. My dad was a Los Angeles police officer, and then Simi Valley police officer. and he did that for 40 years. It was something that was really inspiring to me as a child, watching my dad come home. He was my hero. And the best thing that my dad gave me, though, as I get a little bit choked up here, is that he showed me how to love my mom. And so I got to witness that my whole life, which is great. I became a police officer, fast forwarding, after I graduated with a BA in criminology. I became a police officer for Newport Beach Police Department, and I worked there for 15 years as a police officer. While I was there as a police officer, as a young police officer, I learned that I'm very entrepreneurial. God wired me to be very entrepreneurial. I brought these really fun ideas to the government, to the police department, entrepreneurial type of ideas about how we could do things better. And I've quickly learned the government doesn't like new ideas, especially from new police officers that think that they know a lot of stuff. So I decided to start some of my ideas as businesses outside of police work. Fast forward about 8, 9, 10 years, I had a couple companies, one of which had 25 full-time employees, and I was still a full-time police officer at that time, and we had 6 children. My wife and I have 6 children. It's right about now I should back up and tell you, I met my wife when I was working as a police officer. I met another officer for dinner. She came over. She was the server at the restaurant. I was too shy to ask for her number then, but I got enough gumption to do it the next week, came in, got her number. We talked, went out on our first date. I sat down and I said, I'm only dating to figure out if I'm going to marry you or not. I just want you to know that. If you're not interested in getting married, I'm not interested in dating you. So she said, oh, I'm interested in figuring that out too. So she was really cute. 2 months later, we got engaged. 4 months after that, we got married, okay? I was a police officer this whole time. We had 6 children pretty quickly. And now we're at this point where I've got 25 employees. I'm a police officer. We have 6 children. And she says to me, you need to pick a career. I agreed with her, but I didn't want to leave the police work because government jobs are hard to leave sometimes. They've got all the benefits, and you know you're going to get your paycheck, right? But I left anyways. I stayed on as a reserve police officer after that, and I left and fully committed myself to my businesses. Well, we're going to fast forward a little bit here, and now here we are in Idaho. Moved here 8 years ago. Moved here escaping California, all the nonsense, the taxation, the politics, the liberalism, the millions of people. I was pretty sure there was going to be cataclysmic type of events coming, COVID, etc. type of things coming. I didn't want to be around all those people when that happens. If you've ever studied what will happen when an EMP happens, you will not want to live in one of those cities, and I did, and so I really wanted out. And so we ended up moving here, and since being here, at this point, I have 3 companies that I have. I have a small real estate brokerage, I have a wedding venue, event center, and I have Old State Saloon. Okay, so Old State Saloon, in case you don't know, most people know, but a couple years ago, in June of 2024, during Pride Month, I was just kind of fed up with all that, and I thought, what could we celebrate instead of Pride Month? And I thought about, what is God's design for sexuality? It's heterosexuality, and it's pretty awesome. So I decided to celebrate Heterosexual Awesomeness Month at Old State Saloon. And the world went wild about it. In both directions, okay? So I got a whole bunch of haters. Right away, Idaho Statesman wrote an article about me and called me a bigot in the title of the article. They didn't even wait till they got deep in the paragraph. Right in the title, they called me a bigot. And then what that did was wake up a whole bunch of people that said, hey, wait a minute, he's just celebrating something different and you're calling him a bigot. He didn't even say anything negative about what you're doing, and I didn't. I was just focused on doing this. Got attacked big time, got death threats, got threats to burn down my building and businesses. I got my threats about killing my family in front of me, and it gets really, really dark. Like, I'm not even going to say some of the stuff because it's just not appropriate. But on the flip side, I got a whole bunch of really cool followers and supporters and people praying for me and people calling from other countries, not joking, saying, I want to buy a round of drinks for the next 5 heterosexuals that come in the door. We also did beers for breeders on Mondays for heterosexual males that came in. As long as they were dressed like a heterosexual, they would get a free beer on Mondays. Okay, this is all fun and everything. But the point is like I try to do things in life that are meaningful and have multiple impact on things. So a lot of good conversations happened from this. A lot of people started thinking about and having these conversations. I got a lot of support actually from LGB who are very upset with the TQIA extreme part of it. They came in Old State Saloon and they told me, we're so thankful and happy for what you're doing because enough is enough. They felt the same thing, right? Enough is enough as far as how far this has gone. I looked into it more. I learned a lot about transgenderism and that whole agenda and how it's been funded by billions and billions and billions of dollars for decades. I didn't really know all that before because I just always didn't want to pay attention to it. So I started speaking out about it. I got more threats. I doubled down. I kept going. I talked out about social issues. I talked out about political issues. I had a lot more events. Some of them were fun and funny, and some of them were very serious. And they caused conversation. And what I would always say to people when we have a speaker come in an Old State Saloon, and I would introduce them, and then I would say, I'm not bringing this person in here telling you that they're going to tell you the truth. I'm telling you that we want to learn how to meet in a real place and learn to have discernment. Okay? You listen to somebody speak in a real place, not from behind a computer, and we ask questions. Everybody that comes to Old State Saloon has to be willing to take questions. So we did all kinds of those events. And it got popular and controversial sometimes, etc. And then fast forwarding, because I know we're getting short on time here, but November is when I did, I was starting to pray, is when it was in November because nobody was running against the current governor. And I was noticing that there's been nothing but a bunch of secrecy and a lot of other problems with immigration and a lot of things that were said, refugees coming in like you wouldn't believe. And yes, he has written letters, and he had to write letters before refugees arrived that said we were eager and equipped to take those refugees into Idaho. He kept doing it because more money came with it. He created more programs. Our budget increased by 70% over 7 years under our current governor, Brad Little. Okay, so this is why I was at the point, like, should I run? Lord, and I started praying because nobody was running. And in November, I prayed, and I said, Lord, show me. If you want me to do this, would you please show me that this is the right thing for me to do? And if you don't want me to do it, slam the door shut so I know and don't spend any time. Well, 2 days later, I did another post that caught a lot of attention. I offered from Old State Saloon free beer to anybody for a month if they gave information to ICE that got somebody deported out of the United States. So now you know where I stand on that issue. And the world went wild again, okay? And wouldn't you know it, the Department of Homeland Security reshared my post. And so it took off, and everybody starts commenting about this. And I end up going back again on another round of Fox News and all the podcasts and OAN and everything else. And I gained a massive amount of haters and death threats again and everything from kind of a new avenue. A lot of people who are just pro-illegals, I guess, from across the country is the best way to describe it. And then I got a lot of support from people who are just kind of fed up again. Enough is enough. We need to start enforcing the law and stop selling our children's birthright out to people who do not belong in our country, right? So I asked God to show me. That's what happened next, and I went on all that and all the news and everything. There's a couple funny things that happened after that with, me getting tax audited on my companies because I said Mayor McLean's name out loud on a national show. And then I was frustrated with that, so I thought, how can I put them back on their heels? So I put out a $25,000 reward for information leading to her arrest. And that made the papers, and she decided she needed 24/7 Boise PD outside of her house. I had somebody in on Boise PD giving me inside information, and they told me that she had 0 threats from anybody of any kind. And so I did the math, and I put it out that she was costing the taxpayer $580,000 a year by having somebody outside of her house. So that all ended pretty quick. That's when I got into the investigations that I told you about at the beginning, dropped the letter off, etc. And then so then this is when I announce, or I did more phone calls. Nobody's running, right? Okay, so nobody's running against Brad Little that has a chance. And so I start leaking out that I have a big announcement coming. I had told people that I was thinking about it, and I put this date, and then we're going to do this announcement on, I think it was on February 6th or 7th. And put the date out there, still nobody running. And the night before I run, somebody calls me who's a Republican, well-known, and that's as far as I'm going to say, because everybody starts trying to guess who it is after that, and I'm not ready to say who this is. This person called me. For 20 minutes, they said to me, you cannot run. You cannot run because you're going to ruin the plans of the Republican Party. You're going to cost the Republican Party millions of dollars. They have a dossier on you, and they are going to ruin your life. They're going to bankrupt you. You should be very concerned for your family's safety. Your businesses are going to be gone. So I said to this person, do we even live in America anymore? What you're doing to me right now is exactly why I'm running for governor in Idaho. My friends, if you're like me, you're just at this point where you just don't care anymore about the damage that truth will cause, and you wake up and you're at the point, there's two choices. You're going to take your family and retreat somewhere further away, or you're going to wake up and commit to just fighting every day. You're just going to fight, because I really just got to the point, I just don't care that much about this life like I do about eternity with my Savior. So right here, while we're here, I'm just going to get up and fight every day. And it's not like I have a death wish. I definitely don't have a death wish, and I want to be there to raise my kids, but I'm willing to give up my life for what's true and for what's right and for exposing all this evil that's going on. I'm sick of it, and it's disgusting. And I explained earlier, the longer I'm here and the more people I meet, I love the people of this state. I love this state, and I hate this wickedness and deception. Meanwhile, I'm learning how much I love truth. And so that's what I'm going to do. The number one thing I'm going to do when I'm governor is going in and tell everybody the truth. I'm going to expose everything. And I just don't I'm going to publicly blast people as soon as I find out what they're doing is wrong. We are going to audit first the city of Boise. I'm going to find out where every dollar has gone in the city of Boise. I'm going to put a special group of people together at Idaho State Police to investigate these highly sensitive issues. And I'm telling you, the strongest motivation right now to investigate and catch and prosecute people who will be found guilty and face punishment for what they've done. It's going to be a very populist form of government, and what that means is there's some things I actually am a little bit concerned about Trump. There's other things I really love about him. I love how he rallies the people. Okay, so I want to do some of that. I want to have 100 times more involvement in the government from the people. And this, I may not be good at some spreadsheets, but I can find people in my cabinet that will be good at that stuff. What I am good at is being creative on getting people's attention on things. And so what I'm going to do is get people's attention on the government and issues that matter and expose things. I'm making a commitment, and I tell everybody this, at least once a month, whether it be in the Capitol, at the Lincoln Auditorium, or some other place around the state, I will stand and invite the people to come into a room just like this, and I will give an update, and then we will open up for questions where they will have a chance to ask unfiltered questions directly to the governor of the state of Idaho. In some of those instances, when hot topics arise, and let's say geoengineering, and people are upset about it, and I want answers, and people want answers, I will put all the pressure I can from the people, the group of people in Idaho that are now rallying to be involved. I will use them to put all the pressure I can publicly to kindly invite the executive office of Idaho Power to join me in front of the people where they can ask them questions directly about the geoengineering that's happening. And if they don't, it's going to look really, really bad for them for not showing up. But this is how we're going to expose people and how we're going to expose evil. I intend to set up a executive branch that puts itself in a position, like we pray, lead us not into temptation, Lord. I want to set it up so that there will be no temptation that approaches, because a dirty lobbyist or a bribe or a honeypot knows that you can't do that with the Fitzpatrick administration. You will get exposed for even trying to do it. We can set that example for the rest of the government. This is how we're going to clean things up. Every issue, whether it's budget or whatever, it can all be, the main way to solve it is to bring truth and to destroy things that need to be destroyed, but rebuild on that foundation of truth. There are several other issues, like policy issues, but those are the main things I really, really wanted you all to hear today. My heart for this and how it's going to happen, the high level of how it's going to happen by bringing truth. So you can, if you would, tell people, if you think that I should be voted for, tell them, and then show up May 19th. You can follow at markfitzidaho.com is the website. But I just want you to know again, I'm so thankful that you're here and that I could be here with you. If we have any time for questions, I'll take them. If we don't, I burned up all the time. Oh, sheesh, I'm sorry, guys. But what I will do is I'll be outside for as long as needed, and I can answer questions individually out there from everybody. I guess if I'll say really quick on one policy issue, I'll leave you with this. I think that we, generation after generation after generation, have been lied to that we need to be paying taxes. I think, based off some research that I've done, I feel pretty confident that Idaho has trillions of dollars of natural resources available. I know that we can responsibly open mines and logging up, and we will become very rich, very, very rich. I feel pretty confident that we can eliminate all taxes based off of what I'm looking at. And the one thing that I looked at, was silver, and just with silver, we're looking at billions of dollars a year of income, which just silver would easily eliminate property taxes if we start doing that right. We collect 1% right now in royalties and taxes. Alaska collects 10%. That's 10 times what we get. And the value of silver is going up. Last time they said we get 30 million per year on silver, but if we start collecting 10 times the amount and the value goes up times 10, we're now at 3 billion. That eliminates the entire property tax for the state of Idaho right there. I'll leave it at that. I love you guys. I love Idaho. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mark. We appreciate you being here. I appreciate everyone who hung out. I know it's been a long evening, but it's been an important one. In addition to our candidates that came up and spoke, Representative David Levitt is here. David, where are you? There he is. And Senator Josh Cole is here. Josh, are you still here? There he is back there. So take some time. We got coffee and water and lemonade, pizza and cookies out there. Oh, Andrew Messer is here too. Where are you? There he is. So take some time, get to meet these folks. I'm telling you, they're